This is Jeanine, and you're listening to WCBG. WCBG is broadcasted from Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. Today's interview is with Cape Cod-based band Canon Hill. I had a pleasure speaking with the boys of the band, and I hope you guys enjoy this interview.
Hello?
Hello, Logan.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jeanine from WCBG.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Okay. So I need you to do me a quick favor and introduce yourselves.
All right.
I'm Noah.
I am Logan.
I'm Ben.
I'm Gabe.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today.
Thanks.
Yeah, we
As
are.
well.
So I was wondering if you can tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you became a band.
Logan, take it away, my dude.
Yeah, I'll go for it. So Ben and I don't know, we've been friends since like first grade, and we got together in eighth grade, and we decided to start playing some music. I had been playing guitar for a couple of years, and Ben had been playing drums for a couple of years, and we were in eighth grade, so it was just kind of a natural thing to do. And then, a bit of time passes, and Noah and Gabe have joined our fold, and we started writing and recording music, and that's kind of where we are now.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys tell me a little bit about how you picked your respective instruments?
Ooh, respective instruments? Like specific instruments?
Well,
or like...
Kind of like why do you play guitar or drums? And if you want to talk about the types of guitar or drum you have, that's great too.
All right, do not give me an outlet because we will be here all day. I'm the resident gear nerd. Logan, you go first, bud.
I started playing guitar. I got my first guitar. I was really young. I was really into Aerosmith when I was in like third and fourth grade, and that's kind of what made me, want to start playing guitar. I don't know why guitar specifically. I guess I just thought it was cool, but I guess that's why I started.
All right, I was going to a boarding school in Montana that was a fully functional ranch. So we didn't have any, Wi-Fi or, we couldn't actually listen to music. So if we wanted music, we had to make it ourselves. And I didn't know how to play an instrument. So I begged my mom for a guitar. So when she came out to visit, she bought like a $60 piece of crap with me at a pawn shop in Libby, Montana. And I took it back and I played it for like 4 hours a day for a year and a half. And that's why I chose guitar. I exclusively played acoustic before I met Logan. And then he baptized me in the way of Fender, and that's where my gear acquisition syndrome began.
Ben, you want to go?
Sure. So I started playing drums in like the middle school band halfway through sixth grade because I hated my middle school music teacher. Not a joke. And so I got into the band because that got me out of the general music program. And then I started playing set at the same place that Logan took lessons because we were close friends and could coordinate it to be like, hey, Logan will go do a lesson and then I'll go do a lesson and one parent can bring us both there.
Gabriel?
Gabe have at it.
And I started playing piano when I was like 8 because my parents thought I should like do something. And I just played piano for a while until like high school. Freshman year, I started playing bass and guitar kind of at the same time. And I wasn't very good at either, but Logan needed a bass player. So I stepped up.
I will say, I think that nobody can argue with me on this one, that Gabe is the most musically talented person in this band. Like, he can pick up an instrument and within 5 minutes he can play it in like a not crappy way. So, Gabe plays bass because we won't let him play guitar. That's about it.
Well, also, you're going to hear Gabe's other musical styles throughout some of our future work as well, not just on bass.
That's pretty exciting. I love how all of you guys kind of had like different inspirations or reasons why you decided to play the instrument that you do. So what artists influence your music style?
Oh God, we all have such different influences, which is what makes the writing that we do so cool in a way. Gabe was, I'll let Gabe talk specifically, but Gabe and I are more in like the folk realm. Like I listen to more folk, really old school country or like original rock music. So I don't know. Let's see. I'm listening to a lot of Tyler Childers right now. Chris Stapleton stuff when he was with the Blues, the Steel Drivers. Mumford and Sons is a pet favorite of mine, unfortunately, but also fortunately because those guys are awesome. Logan, why don't you go?
Yeah, my musical tastes differ quite a bit from Noah's, but like you said, I think that's what makes it so cool. When we come together, I freaking love Jack Johnson. I like a lot of like reggae influence stuff. I love Ziggy Marley. I've listened to a ton of Sublime. I'm also really into a lot of newer West Coast punk bands like Swimmers and Fiddler. And then I like old rap. I like NWA. I'm really into them. I like Ice Cube's old stuff. And then, there's a lot of new pop music I like too, like Fun. I was probably one of my favorite bands ever. And then, more recently, I really like Billie Eilish's music as well.
Billie Eilish is awesome.
I guess I'll take it because I don't know what Gabe's doing. My music taste has kind of stayed the same since middle school. So I listen to a lot of like All Time Low and Fall Out Boy and Green Day. That sort of realm of music has kind of always been where I'm at. But I do listen to like Led Zeppelin and other older rock music and some pop and rap and stuff. But that's like every now and then I'll be like, hey, I'm going to go listen to some Eminem. Why not?
I listen to just like about everything. So I'm not going to like go through it all because it would just be most genres. But I guess where like my writing inspiration comes from, it's more so focused on like weird indie music, like shoegaze, and then I use a lot of styles and chords from like folk or jazz, and then a lot of like punk stuff I like to incorporate sometimes.
I think the basis for like really all of our musical beginnings, or especially starting the band, was punk music. We've always cite Green Day a lot, and while we don't want to be Green Day, we probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So
I love that. It definitely shows like the connection between different music genres, and I think that's great that you guys all listen to different types of music. I feel like that makes your sound different than a lot of other groups. So can you please describe your sound for me in 3 words?
Ooh, that's tough, actually.
Should we each do 3 words?
If you want to,
Why
go
don't
ahead.
How about we do 4 words and we each pick one?
That works too.
All right.
I'll
Logan,
go first.
You go first.
No, I want to go first. I want to get mine out of the way. So
right,
no
go
one
ahead, Gabe.
I would say for the first word, raw.
I'll go. I think is high dash energy one word? Does that count?
It can be for this.
All right, cool. Oh, I hate this stuff. Go ahead.
I'm going to say passionate.
You've left me last, and I literally have no idea what to say.
Just say anything, then you can do it.
This is such a loaded question. I don't know. I guess varied would be the word that I would use.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So we have raw, high energy, passionate, and varied music.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty. That's not bad, guys. Look what we did there. That's
a good go.
So, you guys are from Cape Cod, correct?
Sort of.
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
We are, except for Noah.
Okay.
Yeah. Noah lives in. I'm Scott. I'm speaking in the third person. I live in a lot of different places, but yes, the band is based on Cape Cod.
Okay, so where on the Cape are y'all from?
Me and Ben are from Harwich.
Okay.
Gabe's from Brewster, which is
Kind of.
part of Brewster he's from is pretty close to Harwich. So, we're
I'm not
all,
really from Brewster, but I've lived in Brewster the longest. I lived in Wellfleet for a while, and then I lived in Orleans for a while, and then Eastham for a little bit. And
nobody off Cape is going to have any idea what you're talking about.
But for the people on Cape, they got to know the difference. There's a difference.
No,
right.
They got to know the details.
Got to stay true to the OG fans.
I know what you're talking about. My
That's
cousins
right.
actually live in West Dennis. So,
Hey, look at that.
speaking of where you guys are from, describe the local scene, if it exists, and if it's played a role in your development as a band.
All right, can I take this one, and then you guys can throw some
Yeah,
stuff
go
in.
for it.
Okay, so the local scene, I think. Okay, so the local scene is that a lot of kids, like high school age, like under 21, are really into music, but the only places to gig are like bars. So you have to be over, or 21 and over. So that creates, a bit of an impasse. But I think, I think it's definitely not as, not as good of a community as I think we'd like. But I think that also gives us a chance to stand out a bit. And, part of, us being forced to play these bar gigs is that they're really long. They're like 3 hours. So it's forced us, where a lot of, other bands will, start and, they'll play half an hour sets or whatnot. We have to go and we have to play 3 to 4 hour sets. And so that just kind of made us really, learn as many songs as possible, as well as write our own music. And it's kind of, I think, helped our endurance a bit.
Absolutely.
And if I could, oh, sorry. You want to go first?
No, go ahead, Gabe.
All right, and just to add on to what Logan said, I'd agree that overall the Cape Cod music scene isn't super alive. There is like a small like underground scene that we used to play a lot when we were younger, and I would say that I think that was helpful because it's just a good place to just like, I don't know if vent's the right word, but just get like a lot of like musical energy out. If you like don't want to go to a bar or stuff, you just go to like someone's house and like a bunch of people there all hanging out playing music, and everyone there is super nice, and I think going there helped me.
Yeah, I was really surprised, coming from a place like New York City where I was raised, where the music scene is like really, really intense. You go to the Cape, and I was honestly shocked at how great the sort of underground punk scene was, like on Cape Cod, because you think of the Cape, you think a bunch of, preppy kids in salmon shorts. Like that's, what I always thought of. But then you get there and you go to all these house gigs, and there's an awesome underground, like true punk scene. So I had a lot of fun doing that, coming from a folk background, where I could just show up and thrash, and it didn't feel at all like I was putting on a show for people that didn't understand. So I for one, think the Cape Cod music scene is really cool, and if it weren't for the people that really supported us early on, I don't know if we would have kept doing what we were doing. But the one thing that really sets Canon Hill apart from a lot of those Cape Cod origin bands is that there are a lot of bands on the Cape, but they're all cover bands that play bars, and they play nothing but covers, and they pride themselves in that. But then we show up at a bar, we play covers for about an hour, and then when people are too drunk to know the difference, we start playing our originals, and people start really digging it. So it's one of those things that sort of sets us apart from the vast majority of Cape Cod music, is that we write our own stuff. And that's something that I know has been really important to us, as, as we've been growing and as we've been writing more, is just to keep that going and make sure that people don't see us as just another, bar cover band. As much fun as it is to play, Sweet Home Alabama in some bar, there's something really cool about, at the end of the night, you're sweating your ass off, and then you go, all right, here's an original, and you play something that nobody's ever heard before. So it's risky and it's fun, and it's sort of a high that you don't really get doing a lot of other things.
I love
If
that.
I can just add on to Noah, you saying, you were surprised coming down to the Cape. We have a video somewhere of a gig that we played, one of these like underground punk things, and it was an early gig. We hadn't played too many. It was the first gig I think where we had ever had like a mosh pit. And I remember we kicked into the fast part of the song, and if you watch the video, Noah's face just lights up. He has this huge smile just watching this whole thing. So yeah, I mean, there is a bit of an underground thing here, but I don't know. I always thought that was just very funny and very pure.
Yeah, I'd
I
never
saw
had
that.
a mosh pit before. I've been in coffee houses since I was 16, and then all of a sudden we kick into this fast, bar chord chorus and B, and all of a sudden people are hitting each other and jumping all around, and I'm going, this is heaven. This is where kings live. I was really happy about it.
So that leads to my next question. What is your writing process like?
Okay. Logan, why don't you start, and then I'll jump in.
All right. For every song, it's different. But I'm going to take our song Smoking Gun as an example. That was a song I had all of the instruments for. I had demoed it out in GarageBand on my school iPad, I think, when I was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And I just had it. I was just sitting on it for a year or two, maybe a year and a half. And then Noah, we met Noah, and he joined the band. And I said, hey, can you do anything with this? So he wrote some lyrics, lost the notebook, and then rewrote them. And that's how Smoking Gun kind of came to be. And me and Ben, we've been playing together forever. So a lot of times, I can just give him a look, and we just kind of know. We have this telepathy kind of thing going on. But when Gabe, really kind of heard the song and added his part to it, he added this really cool bass line that really tied it together, and I think kind of put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah, because the whole thing for Smoking Gun, the demo that Logan made was really cool. It was a little bit slower. It had this growly, awesome guitar part on it, and I had just gone through a breakup, so of course that's the perfect time to write an angry punk song. So I wrote down the lyrics, lost them, wrote more. But the coolest thing about it was that it really does just have the bare bones fundamentals of a classic blues song, something that Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, those guys sort of laid the groundwork for. It's that, EAB standard chord progression, but we sped it up. And then when Gabe came on, and without us having to prompt him at all, he was like, all right, I'll come up with a bass part. And it was this awesome, Sun Records walking bass line. I was like, I think I'm in love with this bass player guy. So Smoking Gun's sort of a really perfect example of how Canon Hill writes. It starts with one thing, and then somebody else adds a layer, and then somebody else adds a layer, and then somebody else adds a layer, and then we actually have a complete song. It's never like, one person being like, great, here's a complete song. We're going to do it just like that. Everybody has their own part to play. So it's really interesting in that regard.
I love that. I feel like from the tracks I've listened to, I definitely appreciate the attention you play to the chord progression in your tracks and the balance with the different parts, how they mix together is definitely something I appreciated when listening to your music. I feel like a lot of artists today sometimes place focus on an aspect of writing over production or production over writing, but I can definitely tell you guys took the time and attention to kind of put together both in a way that fit really well.
Thanks a lot.
I think part of the thing for that too, with our first album is that we really didn't have a huge budget for recording, so the songs themselves had to be good because we didn't have hours and hours in the studio where we could be fixing them or doing this or doing that. We had to go in, we had to have the song, and they had to be good, and we knew that. You know what I mean? We knew there couldn't be a ton of production flourishes and things that would kind of cover up any mistakes. We knew we had to write good songs and go play them well.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite lyric you've ever written?
Whew, Logan, I'll go first. Favorite lyric. I'm pretty proud of most of the lyrics in Broadway Baby, just because it was so much like a neighborhood song for me, and it really just vividly describes a really difficult time in my life. But in Smoking Gun, I'm really proud of the lyric, "I'm not your mother's mugshot tabloid game," because my ex's mom used to pick up these tabloids that had the mugshots from the day before in them in this small town in South Carolina, so she could like post pictures of her friends' mugshots on Facebook and show everybody that they got a DUI.
Okay.
So I was pretty pissed off because she kept asking if I still had this mugshot from when I was 15 so she could post it. So I don't know. For me, I was pretty proud of that lyric. But anyway, that's just me.
I have my favorite lyric that I've ever written is on a song that is not out yet. But I think on the album, I'd say I have a little bit of lyric. I had a little bit of lyric writing for Subway. And I think the "Do You Want to Fight Because You Seem Pretty Old" to me is probably my favorite lyric I've written. Partly because it just sounds like a snotty teenage thing to say, and I guess that was kind of the mindset I was in when I wrote it. And I don't like to be, afraid to write things that people, won't necessarily hear and be like, "Oh, that's nice." And I feel like, "Oh, he's kind of a jerk." But sometimes I like to push that boundary.
Logan, I have an idea. How about?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say my favorite lyric that you've ever written, and then you do the same for me.
Okay.
It's in late. It's in late, and it's when but it's just water. I'm too poor to buy that.
Oh, yeah.
What's that whole segment? That whole.
Oh, it's drinking my soul away, but it's just water. I'm too poor to buy that.
I love that line.
I think, Noah, my favorite line that you've written is the line in Subway. You ask me what I'm thinking, I say I'm fine, then I do another bump and say what's on my mind.
I appreciate that. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. Ben and Gabe, do you guys have any favorites?
I think I agree with "Do You Want to Fight Because You Seem Pretty Old," because that's just kind of the mindset I'm in most days.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the chorus of Subway. I don't know. It's just like I feel that a lot. Like I just feel like amped up, like in a punk mood whenever we play that song.
Yeah, that was like I feel like that's like the quintessential 3-chord punk song. Like on the album, like classic West Coast punk. It makes me happy every time we get to sing that song because there are such horrible lyrics in it, like just mean, awful shit, and I love it. Yeah, it's one of those things where you want to try to make the lyrics accessible so that people understand them, but every now and then it's kind of fun to put like either an inside joke or an inside line or something that really won't mean anything to anyone other than yourself, but it still sounds cool. So it's just one of those that you got to find that balance where people are still going to want to sing the lyrics because they mean something to them. But every now and then you can put a little bit of yourself in there that maybe not everyone's going to get.
Yeah. I also think it's important, to us too as songwriters for people to, have a reaction to, what we're saying. Whether it be, good or bad, I think it's just important, I think, for us to, make sure people react in some way, whether it's like, "Oh, I don't know if I agree with that," or just, if it makes them want to rock out, that's great.
So, what do y'all do when you're not writing music?
Logan, what do you do?
What do I do? I hang out with my girlfriend. I play video games, and I work. Me, Ben, and Gabe, we all work at the same place. So, sometimes we have shifts all together, and that's kind of fun. But that's what I do.
Ben, what do you do?
It's pretty much the same thing as Logan, except tack on college to that list. So work, games, girlfriend, college. And as a side note, I got Gabe and Logan the job. So they work at the same place as me because of me.
That's true. So thank you, Ben, for getting me employed. Yeah, I did forget. I am a student at Berkeley Online. I guess that's kind of important because it's music related. I just completely forgot to mention it, but I do that as well.
And Gabe, other than your side profession as a vigilante Batman type, what do you do with your spare time?
I don't really do that much. I like just sitting and I don't know. I do nothing sometimes. If you ever just sit in your bed and just not doing it. That's what I do a lot. Besides playing music, and then besides that, I work and I hang out with people, I guess, and then I skateboard sometimes.
Gabe, can I out you real quick?
Yeah.
Gabe set a personal mission to watch all of Naruto recently, so he's been doing that as well.
You gotta out me like that on this interview.
Wow, Gabe. When I thought that your aspirations as a human could sink no lower. Oh God.
To be fair, I was like, all right, well, I'll read it and we'll see, who finishes it first. So
that's fair, I guess.
We're both in this together.
When I'm not playing with Canon Hill, I'm an actor. So I'm traveling all over the country doing that. Which was really convenient because I actually got hired by a theater on Cape Cod this last summer, so I was able to actually be there and write and record and gig. But I'm living in New York right now, auditioning and subletting an apartment, and trying to do that thing as well as stay in tune with my boys here.
What are your majors in school?
Look, you want to go first?
I'll start. Yeah, mine's music marketing and music production.
Nice.
And I do computer science.
Oh, lit.
Yeah. Gabe, what do you major in college?
I major in not going to college. I'm really good at it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm really good at it.
You've got a PhD in doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're also really good at it, and so somehow it all works out for you. So good for you, pal. I just graduated in May. I'm a little bit older than these children. I was a BFA acting major with a minor in music.
Nice. The school I go to is actually pretty well known for their theater performance. We actually just had an alum score the role of Roxy Hart in Chicago. I also don't know if you guys know this, but School of Rock was filmed at Wagner. It's one of the things I love talking about. So That's pretty cool.
I did not know that, actually.
Yep. So the initial scene where Jack Black's character is driving to the school, it's actually our school's oval, and the Horace Green Prep School exterior is our main hall where we have class. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I recently was up for the when School of Rock was still on Broadway. I was up for the Jack Black character, so for about a week I got to live my Dewey Finn dreams, and it was pretty great.
Someone mentioned video games earlier. What's your favorite one to play?
So currently, I've been on a binge of very story-driven single-player games. So I just spent 80 hours playing through the entirety of Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's the best video game ever created. I love that game so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. And currently, I'm in the middle of binging The Witcher 3 because I just finished the series on Netflix.
Oh my god, did you read the books for The Witcher?
I haven't. They're on my list of books to read. I need to finish the Dune
you just got outed
before I read those.
I read the books.
Then you are a fake fan.
Don't worry, I never played the game, but I know of it. But the books are pretty good. I didn't like the prequels, but yeah, the first book was probably my favorite out of the series.
That series is definitely on my list. I just need to finish Dune first.
Gotcha. So that actually leads to a question that our PR director Grace came up with. She came up with this question because of the Little Peep song that dropped a while ago, and basically we want to know what you guys think of when an artist passed away. Do you think their music should be released, or should it never see the light of day?
I have something to say about that. If I, I heard this story from a family friend of mine who used to, or a family member, sorry, who used to work at Geffen in the 90s, Geffen Records, and he was there the day that Kurt Cobain died, and they immediately called a meeting and said, they had 2 weeks to figure out a way to capitalize on this. And that's what the MTV Unplugged album was. They weren't originally going to release that, but then after Kurt died, they did it as, kind of a way to capitalize on it. I don't think, I don't think there's any issue with it. And I think fans of the artist definitely always like, hearing more music, especially if the person has passed away. But I also, part of me just really doesn't like doing that, especially with the circumstances of Kurt Cobain's death. So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. I think it's great for the fans, but the whole business side of it is kind of disturbing.
I mean, yeah, there's the business. Sorry, go ahead.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I do. There is the business side of it, and with the Kurt Cobain thing, that was horrible. But then you look at something like Janis Joplin, when she OD'd, and then about a month afterwards, a month before she OD'd, she had finished recording the album that actually had the song "Me and Bobby McGee" on there. And that's one of the greatest songs ever written. And it was already going to be released, and she passed away. And then that song came out, and it was just like the opus of her career. And it's one of those things that's almost really sort of macabre and beautiful when something like that happens. It's really horrible and tragic that she passed away, but at least the people that love her memory can hold on to that one song that she had written just before she died. Like, that's kind of, fateful and gorgeous in a way.
Gabe, were you going to mention Bradley?
Oh, no, I wasn't. That's a good, I will bring that up, though. That's a good,
go ahead.
Point. I was just going to say, a lot of times, I guess that's a great add-on with Sublime. I'm fairly sure that the Sublime, the self-titled album, came out after he died.
Yeah, it was 2 months, or 2 months after he died.
Yeah. I think it just depends. A lot of times, if it's like a full band and like the lead person dies, I'm more okay with that, like, being released, because the money is still benefiting the rest of the members. It's still going to them. But like when it's a solo artist and then they die and then the label decides to put out their music just so the label can get more money, like, it just feels kind of scummy to me. So I guess it depends on the circumstances.
So one of the things I've learned from talking to different people about this is, as a fan, you always want to hear more. But at the same time, you always want to respect what the artist, at the end of the day, would have maybe wanted, because you don't know what they would have wanted. And we've had this question compared to, like, Kurt Cobain's journal and how that was released. And we've also had this question, like, someone was talking about sampling. So it's very interesting to see the different sides of what could potentially happen. And one of the reasons why we ask this question is we always want to try to start a conversation. And we feel like even if it means some people negotiating into a contract, like, we want the rights to figure out what happens to our raw demos. What is one thing you would change about the music industry if you could?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Logan? You're the one who is studying this right now, so.
Yeah, it's. I think. I think if I was to change one thing, I think it. Yeah, God, I don't even know. It's so interesting because the music, industry is just kind of, flipped from 40 years ago, where to be able to get somebody or to get your music out, you had to have a record deal. So, only a couple people were doing it, and now anyone can put their music out, but that means everyone's doing it. I think really, God, maybe if I was to change one thing about the music industry, I know this isn't plausible at all, but just getting the rates of recording studios down, because I feel like that's a big barrier to entry for a lot of people. That's pretty much it, I guess.
If I could go next, I would say the one thing I would change would be probably, I guess since music changed from physical CDs and vinyls and tapes to streaming, the amount of money an artist gets from releasing music is very low. So a lot of artists make majority of their money by either touring or doing ad deals and other sponsorships like that. So I feel like if just the amount of money the artist got increased from streaming, I feel like that's a lot of the reason people sell out to companies, because they're not making enough money making their own music. So they have to get more income by doing commercials or that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that actually leads to my next question. What is your opinion on streaming services like Spotify?
I'll go first on this one. I think that Spotify and Apple Music and Prime and all those, I think they're really great because they make music accessible. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I really love about, a lot of my mentors are blues musicians, especially this one guy named David Bankston. I'll give him a shameless plug. Look up his music; he's awesome. He's in his 70s. He grew up in Louisiana. He, played music everywhere. He opened for, Neil Young and Simon and Garfunkel in the 80s, and he's awesome. But the thing that he always said was that even when he was completely broke and had absolutely nothing, and he was living in a one-room apartment in New York in the late 70s with no furniture and a blanket to sleep on, the one thing that he still had was his music. He had his records that he would carry around with him everywhere. And that's something that is different about now, is that you don't own music, you rent it. Mm-hmm. You pay a monthly fee on Spotify or, Apple Music or whatever. And say, someday you get really down and out and destitute, you can't afford that anymore. They take your music from you. So that's something that I sort of miss when it comes to things like Spotify and Apple Music, is that you don't own music, you rent it. So that's why I know Logan and I and Gabe, and I'm not sure if Ben does, but we collect vinyl so that we can, my reasoning is that no matter what, no matter how down and out, no matter how horrible life gets, I will still own music that I can retreat to and still fall in love with all over again, and that might inspire me to lift myself up by my bootstraps.
Okay, so you mentioned vinyls. What's your favorite vinyl that you have?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Do you guys want to just go around?
Gabe, you go first.
All right. I would say it changes a lot. I keep getting new ones, and then I get really attached to the new ones I get, and then repeats again. But I really, really love my So What by Miles Davis.
Nice.
Not Kind of Blue. I'm sorry.
No,
it's been a long day. Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, because that's the one album that when I listen to it, a lot the rhythms and the melodies of jazz music really click with me, mm-hmm. and transition jazz into something of, instead of background music, it was more like something I could like almost jam out to when I listen to it. Like I can really like hear all the complex melodies going on. And that album, and specifically the song So What, really, it just clicked when I listened to that. So that one's probably my favorite at the moment.
Nice.
Logan?
I have two, one musically and one sentimental. Musically, I have a Sam Cooke Live at the Harlem Square Club, which I can sit down and listen to that album front to back like 100 times in a day. There's just something, about his performance and even like his stage presence, even though you can't, see what's going on, you can just kind of feel it, through the music, and it's so imperfect, all the performances and like his voice cracking, but in such a perfect way. It just, it's definitely like a go-to for when I'm listening to stuff. And then I think, sentimentally, I have this record. It's a live record by Fun that was a very limited pressing called Before Shane Went to Bangkok. And there's a song on that they never released. And I really enjoyed the song, and I wanted to get it on a record, so that's why I ended up with it. But I think fundamentally that's probably my favorite that I own.
That's cool. I was with you when you got that. You were so excited.
Yeah, I remember.
We listened to that record like 6 times. Let's see. All right, I have two as well. One of them isn't even music. It's my dad's copy of Robin Williams Live at the Met. So it's Robin Williams doing stand-up comedy at the Metropolitan Opera in the early 80s. And it's just freaking perfect in every way. It's scratched, and my dad played it almost into the ground, and I love listening to that record. And then the other one, my grandmother about a year ago gave me all of her old Beatles 45s. They're the original singles, and they've got little love notes that my grandmother wrote to my grandfather when they were in high school.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, that's written on the labels, but the records are perfect because my grandmother took care of her, and so I can still put on these old 45s and listen exactly the same as what it would have sounded like the first time an American ever listened to a Beatles album. It's really cool.
That's awesome. So that's always exciting. And you guys are actually going to be releasing your second album, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome. Can you please tell me a little bit about it?
I think with this next album, we're really trying not to let any genres define us or anything. We had kind of a few talks a while back, when we started writing a little bit after Mugshot. We're like, what do we want to be? What kind of music do we want to keep writing? And we kept throwing out different genres and whatnot. And finally, we realized that I guess lack of a better way to put this, that genres are kind of stupid, and that we just kind of don't want to be in a box of any kind. So this album is I'm kind of taking the lead production role here, but we're recording it actually in my house, and but that gives us a lot more free time to really make it be like the best that it can be, and make us it gives us a lot of free time to work on it. There's going to be some different instruments and different sounds in it right now. I don't know. Noah, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that we were talking earlier about cover bands and how it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing. But one of the things that was good for us is that since we were and are in many ways, because when we play out, unfortunately, we have to supplement, a 3 to 5 hour gig with some covers because we're not prolific enough to have 5 hours of material yet. It's that, the covers aren't all in the same genre. So we found ourselves playing different kinds of music, listening to different kinds of music, and not wanting to write one specific kind. So branching out, writing more different instruments. Gabe finally gets to play banjo. I am very adamant on that. I don't care. At least one song will have a banjo on it. I promise you, Gabe. But it's one of those things that it's really sort of fun and cool and scary at the same time, is that we get to branch out and try new things. And
I think too, in comparing it to, our older music, is that our older music was stuff, those songs, we put them out, what was it, 2018 or 2019 when we put them out? 18. Those were all, a lot of those songs we had already had for a couple years. And so in reality, it was kind of a delayed snapshot of our lives, because we had those songs for so long. But, and it was kind of around that time, I think, when we started, wanting to branch out more and start experimenting. And we had these other songs that ended up on Mugshot that we put out on that, and we were very proud of. But I think at that time we had already had our sights set for something a bit different.
Yeah.
I think you summed it up really well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you guys covered it.
You guys are releasing your new album. It's definitely going to show that you're growing up, and I think that's important for younger artists, and that's also why I love doing these interviews, to see the growth that will have occurred between then and now. But at the same time, I also love the fact that music from, like, for you guys, it might have been written like 4 or 5 years ago, and it could be relating to somebody now in this very moment. So I think that's a great factor of music, and I think that's something that definitely shows what happens when everyone grows up and gets older.
Yeah. I think it's important too, we don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Because, that would get boring for us, and, it would get boring for other people, because there are bands who have done that, and they kind of petered out, and, as much as it's a way to stay relevant, we'll also get bored if we keep doing the same thing. This producer and musician, Jack Antonoff, he produces like Lord and Taylor Swift. He was in Fun. I heard him say once, he said, somebody came to him to produce an album. He's like, oh, I like what you did on this person's album. Let's do that. And he goes, no, I already did that. That was that. Let's do something new. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. So that's kind of, I think how we are with this.
I love that. I think that's great. And I know I'm super hyped to see what you guys do next. So that leads to my last question. What can we expect from you guys in the new decade of 2020?
New and different and exciting things, because just like you just said, and as we've been saying, as we grow up, our music's going to grow up with us, and new things are going to come, and different things. As our tastes grow, as our hopefully, fingers crossed, skills grow, the music will become more complex and more interesting and more relevant, and it'll mean more to more people. So that's what's coming for us. Logan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, definitely maturity, a bit, not in a way that squeezes the life out of it, because, you can get too mature and stuff gets kind of bland. But, in addition, music, and we've been working on a lot of new merch, so that's coming eventually. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for interviewing with me. I appreciate it, and for taking the time out of your day to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Again, that was Canon Hill. If you enjoyed today's interview, be sure to check out their music and stay tuned for what they have in store for the year of 2020. Thanks, guys, and have a good night.